Hello, divine creations, divine marvels, children of God. Thank you so much for dropping by this video. And so I'm going to give a little talk. And also, while I'm doing that, I'm doing this practice called tuning in, which also can be called attuning or in German Einstellen, meaning all those fancy words mean is receiving healing energy. And you can do it too while I'm giving this talk. If you'd like to try it out, you can just sit with your eyes closed, please, with your legs uncrossed, feet flat on the floor, hands on your legs, palms facing upwards. And then observe your body, intending to take in this positive energy. Just notice what you're feeling. Pay attention to your body. Even while I'm talking, you can practice this. I'm practicing it while I'm talking. So, what are we doing here? Like, not just right here, right now, watching this video, but as I look out my window, I see some trees and I see the sky, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm here on this thing called planet Earth. I've got this thing called a body. I look around my room. There's all this stuff. I've got my computer's here on this bed. I've got a computer. Like, there's all this stuff. I've got this body. I'm on this planet. But what's going on? Why am I here? What's all this about? So it's a really deep question. Really, what I'm kind of saying is, what's the meaning of life? But I don't mean it in a sort of like an abstract answer. It's more like, well, what am I doing here? What am I supposed to be doing here? Now, a lot of us, maybe most people, I don't know, it's my sense, just kind of go through their day from a place of habit and don't ask such questions, or don't necessarily say, this is my intention, this is why I'm here in this body on this earth, this is what I'm here to do. Most people, and some days that's me too, so it kind of just, the alarm clock goes off, we hop in the shower, we go to work, we have a to-do list. um, And that's okay. Not wanting to judge that or say that's bad or wrong. And what are we really doing here? What do we want to be? What do we think the purpose is? I don't claim to I don't claim to have the answer, but I have an answer that works for me. And that answer is to be an instrument of love and compassion, and to be an empowered instrument of love and compassion. To be an effective, I almost want to say representative of that. Part of this is based in my view that there is a higher power. Some moments I call it higher power, some moments I call it God, some moments I call it source, some moments I just call it love with a capital L. But that there is this thing. Sometimes I just call it it. That's actually maybe the simplest. But there is this, I completely convinced that there is an it, a higher power, a God, a higher love, and that I want to be in service to that. And not just be in service to that, but in some ways be an extension of that, to let that work through me. You could think of it like being a mirror of that. I want to receive and reflect that love, that peace, that compassion. So that's what I can say the meaning of my life is. And moment by moment, day by day, the extent to which I do that tends to determine my happiness. If my focus is on doing that and being that, things tend to go better than when my focus is on just taking care of my to-do list, or just, going to the next party or gathering or event or seeing the next movie. And I do some of that, of course. I watch movies and I like to go to gatherings. But when I make such things my primary, and of take care of my to-do list, but when I make those things my primary focus, I don't feel good and life doesn't go well. But, but when I say yes, there is this goodness. There is this, um, there is this love. And yes, I want to serve it, and in some extent to be it. And I want to help. When I dedicate my life to that, things go a lot better. So it's January 1st, 2020. It's New Year's Day, at least here in the United States. Maybe in other parts of the world, it's already January 2nd. But it's a really interesting question we can ask ourselves. Not just what do I want to do, but what do I want to dedicate my life to? What are the principles that I want to live by? So let's spend a few minutes reflecting on this, asking ourselves, and not just asking ourselves, but asking to be shown what's the right way for us. And again, for anyone who's new, as you're reflecting on this, just continue to observe your body. Noticing what you feel, reflecting on who am I? What am I? What am I doing here on this earth? Hmm. Let's see, we've got some comments. Let's see. Arch on tour said, I got to know Bruno about a week ago and he has helped me already. I'm so happy to hear that. That's, you know, I would be dead if it wasn't for Bruno Groening. And that, um, Bruno Groening said, my life is about helping. And I personally believe that's what all of our lives is about, that we're all here to help. We're all here to be helpful. And for each one of us to find the way that we can do that. Doesn't mean we're all going to become rock stars, that we're all going to start um, giant nonprofits, that feed billions. It doesn't have to be so, it doesn't have to be big. Obviously, Bruno Groening was quite a helper. And for anyone who's new to this, um, You can check out my website, www.thehealingstream.org, that gives a little more information about Bruno Groening. I'm kind of giving this talk assuming people have already heard about Bruno Groening. Even a simpler thing is just to ask Bruno Groening for help. Forever loving everything. Bruno is always here. It's indescribably beautiful. It is. Bruno Groening said, I am here and everywhere at the same time. And so, am I right? Is the purpose of our life to be helpful, to be in service? Now, obviously, we need to take care of ourselves as well. In fact, Bruno Groening said, from a spiritual point of view, one needs to be an egoist first, meaning to free ourselves from evil. It doesn't mean you need to completely be free of evil before you do any helping, but what it means to me is that um, we have to be cognizant of the rules of the game of life, that there is this force called evil, and that we, um, in some sense, need to, in an ongoing way, keep ourselves clear and clean of it and be mindful of it. Not just be, oh, I'm just going to help people and not going to think about me at all and not going to take care of me. It doesn't work that way, at least not according to Bruno's teachings and not according to my experience. So continuing to take in this good energy. And so Bruno Groening, Bruno Groening said very directly that we can all do what he did. That he was just an instrument of God, just a servant of God, and that all of us are. My belief, based on that statement and based on the study of other religions, particularly Buddhism, which says that the purpose of Buddhism is to become a Buddha, to become a liberated being who can then liberate others. That's the beginning and end of Buddhism. Everything in between is just to help that to happen. And I believe that's the essence of Bruno Groening's teaching, is for us to become our own form of a Bruno Groening, meaning our own form of a being who is a fierce helper, a fierce spiritual warrior, helping people. Bruno said, he didn't just say it's what you can become. He said, and I'm having to paraphrase here, so I might have one or two words wrong, but he said, I am just an instrument of God, in fact, which you are too. You've only forgotten it. You only just believe. And interestingly enough, that's the same thing that's said in Buddhism, that we already are a Buddha. It's just obscured from us. And so in Buddhism, it's this process of removing the obstacles to what's already there, this inherent goodness. And isn't that pretty much what Bruno Groening said, that we already are an instrument of God? He said the human being is and remains divine. It's not that we become divine, it's just that we clear away all this gunk that's been placed on top of it. So let's spend a little time taking in this energy that removes the obscurations, removes what's covering up the divinity, the goodness, the Buddhahood that's already inside of us, that uncovers and frees the servant of God, the instrument of God that we already are. Taking in this energy, observing the body. Please don't take my word for any of this. Find out for yourself. And Bruno said that will happen if we observe our body. We will come to know the truth directly. Wow, that's amazing. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Arc on Tour said, I get muscle flickering. Every time I get it, I say out loud, Bruno, please help. And it just stops for real. So Bruno Groening said, I am here and everywhere at the same time. And he also said, I am really with you always. I'm not, well, this part I'm paraphrasing. I don't have it perfectly memorized. He said, I am with you always. I'm not just saying this, really believe it. It's hard for us as human beings to understand how is it possible that someone can be here and everywhere at the same time, that someone can be with us always. I can't explain it logically. Yet Bruno Groening said, he who tries to understand my work, I think he said, with the human mind, will not be able to do so. I'm horribly paraphrasing that there, but misquoting, but that's the essence of what he said. Arcantor wrote, talk to Bruno and he will hear you for sure. It's a fact for me, and it seems to be it's a fact for you, and many, many other people have experienced that. So Bruno Groening said, the good will prevail. He called on us to believe that good is stronger than evil. There's a spiritual comic out there named Swami Beyond Ananda. And he would give a comedy show, and then he would take questions, and people would ask him spiritual questions, and he would give silly responses to these very serious spiritual questions. Someone once said, Swami, I'm so scared. Can you tell me, how is the world going to end? Because a lot of people are afraid of the end of the world, right? Swami, how is the world going to end? And Swami looked at him and said, the good guys win. And that's the message of Bruno Groening, that goodness will be restored to this earth. He straight up said, paradise will be restored, that all forms of evil will leave this earth. And so what's our, do we, and not only that, I don't know that he ever said it quite like this, but my view is that we have a part in it. In fact, he did say that the more people that want the good, the sooner it can be brought about by God. That means by us wanting the good, us doing our own spiritual work, we can help bring that about sooner. So let's spend a minute or two wanting the good not just in our own lives, but on this earth. It can be, I don't know about you, but sometimes it's hard for me sometimes while my heart says, yes, that's true, sometimes it's hard to believe that the good will prevail on this earth. And sometimes it's hard to believe that I can help that happen. We need to keep in mind, um, once again, one of my favorite spiritual quotes of all time is, "Enough drops fill the bucket," meaning enough drops of water. Meaning, if you have a giant bucket and you let in one drop of water at a time, sooner or later that bucket will be full. So, yes, if we feel inspired, we can do big projects that impact thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of people. And we can also just live good lives. Bruno Groening said that just as I am a big sender, you are a little sender. So Bruno Groening is an example of what's really possible for us as children of God, as instruments of God. How much God, how much divine energy can be transmitted through a person. A lot. We have Arkantor right here saying Bruno Groening's been hasn't been in a physical body for 60 years, and all he does is call on his name and ask for help. And a problem just vanishes. I don't know if each one of us will eventually come to that place. I assume we will, that where we're servants just as strong as Bruno Groening, helpers. I don't know. That's just my personal belief. I don't know that Bruno ever commented on that. But what he did comment on is that all of us can do what he did, and all of us are senders of energy. And a really simple example of how we can help the good prevail is just to stay connected to the good. This was made very clear to me one day when I was riding my bicycle. I was having a great day. It's a really good day. I'm riding my bike. It's a warm day. I'm going to go get acupuncture, which I love. And all of a sudden, all these negative thoughts started coming. All these about this political situation that, I hadn't thought about in years, and like how I needed to tell these people I was angry at them. And within a minute, it's like my good day was practically wrecked from these negative thoughts, or my mood was wrecked, not my whole day. But luckily, I caught it, and it only went on for a minute. And I was like, "Oh no, yuck!" And I put them aside. And then I started kind of releasing the thoughts and reconnecting to the good. But my mood had definitely been made a little more funky. So and so I was kind of like getting my back self back into that good place. And so again, I'm riding my bike, and then this car, um, as I'm going past the street, a car, in the United States, we have a stop line with the stop signs where the cars are supposed to stop. And for good reasons, so that people who are crossing the street, other cars or people on bikes, feel safe. Well, this person went way past the line, and I just kind of jerked in fear. And and then I looked over at them like this. I looked over at them like I frowned at them as I drove past, as I biked past. I wanted to say something negative, but luckily I didn't. And I think the reason I didn't is because I caught those negative feelings and stopped them and started to work through them. But I still sent a little negative energy, which in hindsight doesn't feel good. And so there it is, friends. It's a very small, simple moment. But by catching those negative feelings, I didn't really get yucky to those get very yucky. I was only a little yucky. But even so, that brings it home moment by moment. It's our job to stay connected to the good and share the good. That doesn't mean that, if someone does something that doesn't feel good, we can calmly let them know, like, hey, that didn't feel good. Please don't do it again. But it's only when we take in negative thoughts and negative energy, then we also, as Bruno said, then you become a servant of evil. And in that moment, in a little way, by sending that nasty scowl and a little negative energy, I wasn't serving God. I was serving the devil. And it didn't feel good. In the moment, it didn't feel good afterwards. So let's sit and take in that we can do good. We can all bless this world in little ways. And that those little ways actually matter. Observing the body, it's a new year. Let's recommit to staying connected to the good. Let's keep in mind we're staying connected to the good not just for our sake, but so that we can be helpful, so that we can serve creation. Hi, Germana. Forever Loving Everything wrote, a big hug from Austria. Received and returned. Oops, I crossed my arms. um, yeah, received and returned. Also, my life is about helping as an instrument, and there is nothing I love more. I hear you. Being of service. And for me, it's been important to find ways to be of service that work for me. We're not, it's a big earth with many possibilities to serve and help in different ways. Like, not everyone's meant to have a YouTube channel. Like, I love it. This fires me up. Um, but what there, meaning we each have different strengths and things that fill us up and help us actually feel connected to God. That's the kind of service that I love to do, and that I think is most healthy for everyone, is where they really feel like they're giving and that they're receiving, because otherwise it can be a drain. Beautiful. Arc Done Tour. Actually, I was born and raised 20 minutes from Rosenheim, meaning the Trapperhof. I never heard of him in 36 years before. It is unbelievable that the wonder was suppressed or just vanished. Arc Done Tour. Well, that's amazing. I want to go visit the Trapperhof sometime. Um, so it is amazing that the wonder was suppressed or vanished. I would say suppressed. It hasn't fully vanished. God willing, it never will. You know, when many people here have seen the documentary film that was made by the Bruno Groening Circle of Friends, and to me, it's one of the greatest movies ever made, um, for so many reasons. But while Bruno Groening was alive, they made an actual documentary of Bruno and the people, like, firsthand accounts. Like, it was basically like while it was happening, and this movie was shown, and there was a huge uproar. The medical profession went ballistic and wrote all sorts of letters to the editor and newspapers, and the movie was just sort of pulled from the movie theaters. And to this day, there's no one that I'm aware of. No one has a copy of it, and it breaks my heart. My deep prayer is that there is a copy, and that it will come to light one day. But what this shows us, and just as the crucifixion of Christ shows us, just as the opposition to Bruno Groening then and now, shows us, and I'll say more about that in a minute, is it reminds us of one of the fundamentals of this rule of what Bruno called the game of life. He said the good attracts evil. I don't claim to understand it. I really don't like it. It's very important for us to stay mindful. Um, to stay mindful that which is good, um, is going to draw that which is not good. So that's kind of the why. Um, it's very sad, and there are moments where it's heartbreaking, and to think about that. We don't want to stay in the heartbreak for too long, because that weakens us. What is important is to be mindful of that we're in a body on this earth, that we are a divine soul, incorruptible, in a body that is corruptible, on this earth that is corruptible, and that evil is afoot. We absolutely need to be mindful of that. We don't want to get into fear about that. And we don't want to. The word that comes is vigilance. And we need to be vigilant for the good. Arctantor, I hope you visit the Traberhof sometime. Let us know what that's like. I love your emojis, Germana. Thank you. Hmm. So let's spend a little time. Let's spend a little time. So when I tune in, there's a very special feeling I have. And let's notice this good feeling. And I'm not alone in this. I'm glad to hear I'm not alone in this. But let's really cherish this good feeling. And let's really, New Year's Day, let's recommit to seeking this, to being an embodiment of it. As Bruno said, Forever Loving said that that is their commitment to be an instrument, a helping, a helping hand. Bruno called it something like the great divine work, being a part of that. And so Forever Loving wrote a little bit ago, I love the way you help. And thank you. And I do too. And that's part of why I do it. I do it because I want to be helpful, but I also do it because I love it. I leave these sessions so fired up. And so let's ask, what are the ways that we can help, that each one of us can help, that fire us up, inspire us? Which I believe is just another way of asking, God, what's my purpose in this life? Why am I here? What do you want me to do? Arkantor wrote, "Unfortunately, the Trapperhof was taken down, I heard. But the Trapperhof can be everywhere when we ask for Bruno's presence." Thank you. My understanding of what Bruno taught is two things. Is that we can receive the healing stream everywhere. In fact, he said, you can receive the healing stream no matter where you are. How beautiful is that? And Bruno Groening said, I am with you. I forget his exact words. I think it was, I am always with you. So yes, we don't need to go to the Trapperhof. And there are certain people, places, and things that have a little bit extra charge. Bruno said God is really everywhere and in everything. And he said, and he's a little more in some people. And so I would also say he's a little more in some places. There's a little more um, energy available. So I like to honor both, that I can tune in no matter where I am. And for example, the energy is generally stronger for me when I tune in with other people. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining in, and I'd like to welcome Arkantor, and so if you'd like to be on my mailing list, you can send an email to thehealingcurrent@gmail.com. You can learn more about my work on the Healing Stream, www.thehealingstream.org. I do all this work by voluntary donation, meaning I don't require or expect to receive any kind of money, and I'm happy to receive it. And there's a little bit more about that on my website. And I think I'm going to start trying to do these gatherings daily. Some days it'll be more silent, some days more talking. We'll see. But I'm very fired up. I'm very inspired. And I'd like to thank everyone for joining in and everyone who's taken the time to watch this. And let's find the ways we can help, that light us up, that fire us up. It's a big world. There's a lot of hurt going on. There's a lot of help needed. It can be as simple as walking down the street and smiling. It can be volunteering once a week. It could be writing something positive online. There's so much on Facebook and other places. There's so much negativity. We can just share something positive. Send a word of encouragement. Thanks. All right, dear ones, let's have a final time together. I'm going to say a little prayer. You're welcome to type in any prayers you want to add in. Beloved Source, infinite God, Maker, God, Goddess, the Supreme, that which we have all these words, but these words can't really touch the mystery. Thank you for the gift of life. One more day of, thank you for our very existence, much more the gift of one more day of life on this earth. Please, we ask for grace, mercy, to release us from all evil. And please help us to seek out and stay connected to the good, and to be instruments of good. Please, for Germana's prayer, and for everyone else's prayer, and for our part in helping to bring about the kingdom of God on earth. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Take care, angels. Much love.